Of the few eastern national parks, Congaree National Park comes in at the smallest. Located just 20 minutes outside of Columbia, South Carolina, it is the fourth smallest national park in our country and only achieved national park status in 2003. With this distance from Columbia, Congaree is far enough from civilization to mean adventure, yet close enough should something go wrong. But don't let that scare you. As far as campsites go, Congaree is just about one of the easiest destinations you can pick. The park has two main campgrounds, Longleaf and Bluff. Longleaf is located just inside the park entrance and features 14 campsites, 10 individual and 4 group. Please note that the individual sites are limited to 8 people or 2 tents, though realistically you can't really fit much more anyway, and the group sites are limited to 24 people and 10 tents. Pets are allowed on leash throughout the entire park, including the campgrounds. However, it should be noted that inside the visitor center, only service animals are allowed. There are no electric or water hookups at any campsites, and there are no RV spots anywhere in the campgrounds. Longleaf amenities include a picnic table and fire ring per site. Each site also has ample shade, and while you can see the other sites around you, they are not intrusive. A wildlife-resistant trash bin is located near the parking lot, as well as 2 vaulted toilets, men's and women's. And that parking lot is important, as both Longleaf and Bluff are accessible by trail. You do not park at each individual campsite the way you would at a traditional campground. Now in the case of Longleaf, this trail is simply a small loop that connects from the parking lot around through all the campsites, then back to the parking lot again. But this means you do have to carry each cooler, camp chair, or water jug to your site and back. Something to keep in mind. In the case of Bluff Campground, however, there is almost a full mile hike between the parking lot and the campsites. Located in a small clearing in the woods, these campsites are simply designated spots at the edges of this clearing. 6 sites in total, Bluff Campground is just about as secluded as you can get, short of a backcountry permit. Keep in mind that depending on which site you choose and what time of year it is, your Bluff campsite may be in sun or shade for most of the day. Also, plan accordingly. There are no toilets on site, and with the full mile hike in, you don't want to realize you forgot something last minute. Now that you've established your campsite, it's time to explore the park. The obvious starting point is going to be the Harry Hampton Visitor Center. Here, you can talk to a park ranger, get some maps of the park, or learn about the various ecosystems of the park itself. If you wish to do any backcountry hiking or camping, you must also first obtain a permit from the Visitor Center. From the Visitor Center, there is easy access to several of the many trails that run throughout Congaree. With very little elevation change, these trails are family-friendly and easy to navigate. There are over 40 miles of trail throughout Congaree, so you'll need a good weekend to explore it all. The main attraction is the boardwalk. This 2.4-mile loop begins and ends at the Visitor Center. Depending on water levels, various parts of the park may be underwater. This boardwalk remains dry and allows visitors to see the park during an otherwise flooded season. And the views are spectacular. Just imagine, back in the colonial days, the vast majority of the southeastern U.S. was covered in forests such as this. When the park is not flooded, the trails of Congaree take you deep into the woods, all the way to the Congaree River. These trails are very easy in difficulty, and even our small dog had no trouble keeping up. For a different view of the park, canoe tours are offered which float through Congaree down Cedar Creek. Between the trails and water tours, Congaree offers lots to do, but unfortunately we could not see it all. 2 weeks before our visit, Hurricane Matthew swooped up the East Coast. While the hurricane never made much landfall, the effects were still felt. Park rangers were hard at work clearing the trails from fallen trees, but it was clearly going to take some time with the amount of work they had to do. Which leads me to talk about some drawbacks of the park. Now, while fallen trees can't be listed as a drawback, it does bring up an interesting point. Being in the southeast, Congaree National Park is in range of hurricanes. Anyone planning a visit during hurricane season will need to check ahead to see if there's been any storm damage from previous storms. And on the topic of seasons, you may wish to avoid the summer. Congaree is located in South Carolina, where the humidity is high and the summer heat can be brutal. With no support for RVs, you do not want to go camping in July. Just don't. Now this next drawback is something that is not weather related. About 2.5 miles from Longleaf is a railroad crossing that is used at night. While I can't fault the National Park Service for being able to control the train, it is something to keep in mind. That said, backcountry permits are free and allow you to camp deep within Congaree, away from pesky humans and the noises we make. Which brings me to my conclusion. For a small park, Congaree is an easily accessible getaway. While it doesn't have the views of, say, Yellowstone or Yosemite, it doesn't have the large crowds either. If your goal is to go into the forest and get away from the crowd, you can do that at Congaree. Just be sure to check the conditions before you go. Thanks for watching our first video, everyone. If you want to learn more about Congaree, click the link in the description below. If you liked our video, hit that like button and get subscribed. We'll have more videos about other parks and camping gear in the future. If you disliked our video, let us know why. What can we do to improve? We'll see you next time.